Hey, it's Nick Fundytus here, and this week's Nick Answers Reddit is about whether or not you need a realtor for buying your first condo. Now, the specific situation here, our user asks, "Hi, I'd like to explain my current situation and then ask you a few questions on how you think I ought to move forward. I've lived in a rental condo for 3 years. Small townhouse style with 4 other units. We have those in Ottawa as well. This year, the owners told me that their mortgage is up for renewal and they are going to sell it. Apparently, this gives me the right of first refusal, and I told them I'd be interested in hearing a number. I've actually been interested in buying the place for a couple of years now, so this worked out great. They had a realtor come in and do an assessment. So the realtor sat us all down together and essentially broke down a low, so it sells tomorrow, medium, and a high, takes a couple months, price that he felt was fair, showing us examples of similar nearby properties, history of the condo building, etc. I appreciated the transparency here because they very easily could have kept these numbers to themselves. They've always been straight shooters. The realtor basically told us both, if you can work it out amongst yourselves to come to an agreement on a number, let me know. On advice from a friend, I reached out to a realtor and explained all of the above. To be honest, I did not appreciate her temperament. And essentially, she told me not to buy the place unless I paid less than what these owners did 5 years ago, which, even if the market did not change at all, makes no sense from an inflationary perspective. Then she tried to convince me to let me take her to other properties. So I'm willing to take advice here, but I've also had my eyes open for similar listings for a long time. I'm an architect and I have strong opinions about these things, etc. I've also lived here for a long time and I love it. The owners came back with a number that was 2% higher than their realtor's ideal price. So it seemed fair to me. Now the ball is in my court to either accept it or counter. But now the realtor I consulted with is calling to try and get me to get in on the action. So a few questions. One, do I need this realtor, so the one that I consulted, for anything if my plan is simply to purchase this condo? Will it benefit the sellers if I don't use a realtor? For example, could I counter with a lower price on the grounds that I won't use a realtor so you won't have to pay them commission? Or does it not work like that? So any general advice on putting in an appropriate counteroffer? I don't really want to lowball these folks. We're probably 5% away from each other, and I'm hoping we can just meet in the middle. All right, here are my thoughts. Thank you very much. This is an excellently worded question. You've given lots of detail here, and I appreciate that. The short answer is, number one, you are not required to employ a realtor for the purchase of a condo. You will need to cooperate with one, so your landlord's realtor, if they are listed with him, but you don't have to have one of your own. Unless you signed a buyer representation agreement already, or whatever your province's equivalent is called, with your realtor, then you are not obligated to include her in the proceedings. The benefits to the seller, if you are unrepresented, meaning you don't have your own realtor, means that A, they may have an agreement for discounted overall commission with their realtor if an unrepresented party purchases, or if their realtor double ends the property, so if he represents you. So that may save them on commission, and therefore they may, I stress may here, pass some of that savings on to you. And B, they may have an informal advantage over you simply by having their access to a realtor and past sold data. So they might have an informational advantage over you. Something important to keep in mind. 3, in my opinion, the best counteroffers always are data driven and they are unemotional from your side. So strip emotion as much out of the process as you can. If you can access past sold data, so either via the landlord's realtor or from some other source, and you have a true good idea of the market value of the home, your counteroffer should be based on that, not on emotion, not on what you think the seller wants, not on whether their feelings are going to be hurt by not, but what the actual value of the property is. Also, frame your counteroffer to the landlords in a way that emphasizes the advantages that you bring. So you're bring cost savings because the home doesn't need to be cleaned, staged, photographed, marketed, potentially listed empty for a while you are not there, or it's also easy. So, in terms of time, it will close quicker. The sellers will get paid quicker. And in stress, they don't need to serve a tenant notice and potentially show the property while it's being listed and have a tenant who may choose not to move out and wait for a landlord tenant board hearing. And if you're as backed up as we are in Ontario, that could take a long time. I don't necessarily think I don't really think at all that you should have to pay a premium to buy your own house that you're living in. In fact, if anything, I think you should get it for a slight discount from what the market would bear. However, any offer that you and the landlord are both happy with is fair. It's a fine place to land. I mean, as long as you're not paying grossly over market value and you're both happy, that's fine. There's a saying that we have in real estate in negotiations that a good negotiation either leaves both parties happy or both parties unhappy. When you have one party that's happy and the other party feels like they got screwed, somebody probably got screwed, and that's not, that's somebody screwed up on their negotiation. Okay, here's the longer answer, as if you thought I hadn't gone long enough. Okay, so why am I counseling that you could go without a realtor in this situation, especially being a realtor? So although I generally counsel that a realtor can be helpful on the purchase side as well as the listing side, you aren't ever required to use one to purchase or sell a property. There are lots of other alternatives you can use, all the way from for sale by owner, all the way to, mere posting, or just sticking a Canadian Tire sign on the ground if you're a seller. On the buyer side, most provinces, I think you can be an unrepresented party, whether that means you put in an offer through your agent, or whether you put in an offer, or sorry, not through your agent, through your lawyer, or whether you use the listing realtor who's not representing you but is going to prepare paperwork. That may count as unrepresented in your province. I'm most familiar with Ontario, where I'm based, but I mean, this should stand pretty true for all the provinces. Okay, the exact rules and laws are going to vary by province, but generally speaking, like I said, you can purchase unrepresented, and the reasons that I feel that you may be okay in this particular situation are as follows. So number one is trust. You have a few years of history with these landlords. You felt like they've been straight shooters with you. You've been happy with them. You feel that they've been treated you fairly. If your gut says that they've been straightforward to you, I mean, your gut is a good thing to listen to. It's based on a lot of other little interactions that you've had over the years. Transparency. So to back up my first point, it was a nice move by the landlord and their realtor to walk through the listing and pricing conversation with you present. Now, assuming that the realtor was professional and honest and not just cherry picking the best comparables to give them the landlord the highest price, then that's a great sign. Now, on the other side of things, the realtor that you reached out to also did a few things that doesn't really endear her to me, and certainly sounds like she didn't endear herself to you. It really gives the feeling like she's trying to insert herself in the situation for sake of a commission rather than serving your best interest. And that's a red flag. So first thing that she said was, don't pay more than these owners did 5 years ago. Now, I don't know where you live, but unless she can demonstrate with data that the market in your area has actually returned to pre-pandemic prices, this is really questionable advice. In almost everywhere in Canada that I have heard of, regardless of what has happened with increased interest rates, we have not seen a return to pre-pandemic prices. And I don't think we are going to. Number two, see some other properties. Generally, this is good advice. But in this case, you live in the target property. You found a property that you love. You said you love it. That's different than just saying, I could settle on this one. Really, what's going to benefit you the most here is getting comparables for this property. So really transparent analysis of what this home is worth. And if you're in a condo development, those are usually pretty easy to find because there's a certain band within what all the homes sell for in terms of price range. So it doesn't look like she's listening to what you need. And then finally is just pressure. There's a fine line in our business between nudging a client and sometimes, frankly, giving them a little kick in the right direction to remind them to keep their best interests in mind, because people get scared. Some people sometimes kind of freeze up under pressure. And if you are being there for them and representing their best interests, sometimes you have to give them a nudge and revisit, okay, here's what you said when we met. Here's your needs, the things that you need. Here's the things that you want. Here's the things that you don't want. And this home fits all of them. Or sometimes it's this home doesn't fit what you want, but you're falling in love with it. Sometimes we need to give a little push as a realtor. But pressure and pushiness is on the other side of that. So regardless of where this person has landed, you feel pressured by her, and this makes an uncomfortable relationship where you're not really going to be able to build trust. So, take that for what it's worth, but it doesn't sound like it's a good fit. At the very least, if you're going to talk to a realtor, you might want to talk to a different realtor who you have a little bit better fit with. Now, other bits I want to add in here is one is conditions. So part of your offer, no matter how you're making it, whether it's with a realtor, through their realtor, or through your lawyer, it should include review of the condo documents. These are called a status certificate or strata docs, depending on your province. and they should be reviewed by your lawyer, not just you, not just a realtor, but a lawyer. And it should be a real estate lawyer. Trust me on this one. You don't want a criminal lawyer reviewing legal contracts, because they will see demons in every corner and try and tear them apart, and they'll kill your deal on you, even if your deal is perfectly well written. Have conditions for financing and a home inspection if they're appropriate. So even the situation between you and your landlord is totally comfortable. There should be no problem with you having conditions. In fact, if they don't want you to have conditions in your offer and they're really pushing against it, that's a little bit of at least a pink flag, maybe a red flag in itself. Lawyer, in the absence of a realtor, have your lawyer, like I said, a real estate lawyer, review your agreement of purchase and sale, the whole thing. Clauses that are in there, conditions can be subtly worded to kind of be in the favor of the other party if you're not careful. And as a lay person, you can miss these. So make sure that you're signing something that is fair to both parties. At least know what you're signing. And then review of comparables. So even if you have to pay someone to do it, the realtor that you've reached out to, or maybe a different realtor, a flat fee of a couple $100. That's what it would cost if someone asked me to do it. They have in the past. I charge about $200-300. Get someone to independently price the condo for you. Remember that as much as something may feel warm and fuzzy during the transaction, the seller's realtor is contractually obligated to represent the seller's best interests, not yours. Information is really the best thing that you can arm yourself with. And if you reach the same conclusion afterwards in terms of price as you've already got, that's just peace of mind right there. So don't be suspicious and think that somebody's trying to cheat you at every turn, but go in with a certain amount of healthy skepticism. Protect yourself. Don't go in naive, and just make sure that you have the professionals and the proper wording in the clauses to make sure that you are looked after. Good luck on the purchase. Let us know how it turns out. I always think these kind of situations are totally fascinating. So maybe tag me in a comment or write an update post, and would love to hear how it comes out. I'm a realtor in Ottawa. That's why I know these things. And I hope this information was helpful for you. If you have further questions, you can comment in the video and share this with somebody who you think would be useful for.